All right, welcome to Artist Live this week. DeeDee Catron here. You can find me on my website if you need to, deedecatron.com. I am super excited to be here. I always love doing these shows for Karen and Rika and Yasmin. And once again, thank you so much, ladies, for inviting me. Today we're going to be doing some jelly printing. I get to do kind of like a little two-part series here. A little bit excited and I'm very humbled. Our scheduling worked out this way. I'll be doing the show this week and next week. So to turn it into kind of like a little two-part series, I thought today we would do jelly printing and I'll show you lots of my favorite like tips and tricks and techniques for jelly printing, different materials and things you can use to make marks and stuff like that for an hour. And then next Monday, I'll be back and we'll turn our jelly prints into some art journaling pages. Does that sound good? I think it sounds good. I think it sounds awesome. So let's get started. The first thing, the most important thing for jelly printing is your jelly printing plate. And this here is a Gelli Arts jelly printing plate. And there are a couple other, there are like competitors out there with jelly printing plates, and you can make your own. Some people make their own jelly plates, and you can use other things too. Like I've even seen some people make jelly plates out of like molding compounds and things like that. But I've used a couple different ones. I've even made my own. And I'm not going to lie, the Gelli Arts jelly printing plate is my favorite. It's a super high quality. It has great consistency, and I continually get good presses from this. And I should say also that jelly printing is a form of mono printing, and you use it to sort of create things like some of these here, to create these patterns and textures and all these kind of fun backgrounds. So here's an example of sort of like a finished one, and it's just a small 4x6 size. Like it doesn't have to be something. So, oh, sorry about that. It doesn't always have to be something. Like art, totally to me. Oh, hold on a second. I'm sorry. Quit. Come here. Come on. Come here, baby. Come lay down. Let's go. Get in there and lay down. Please quit barking. Go. I'm not kidding. Go. No more barking. No. Okay, I'm back. Of course, the dog barks, right? No. Stop. Lay down. Come on. Lay down. Right here by me. So the jelly printing part, the jelly printing process, this is only jelly printed. I haven't done anything else to this. You kind of go back and forth with different colors and different textures and stencils and things like that to create these really fun patterns. And then next week, we'll come back on some of them and do some finishing work. So some other painting, some stamping and stenciling, maybe chipboard. We'll add in some vintage book text and things like that, and it'll be very cool. All right, so real quick, I kind of want to walk you through a couple other cool jelly prints that I have been able to make. When you're jelly printing onto a surface, you basically just have to use anything that will accept paint. And I have used all kinds of things. You can see here, these are like note cards, unlined note cards, and I've even used lined note cards. This is cardstock, just like the Michaels brand of cardstock, completely white. And this is one of my favorite things to print on. It always turns out well. Get some kind of cool, crazy prints. Look at this one. I'll never, ever, ever be able to create that one again. How cool is that? More note cards. Here I jelly printed on some lined paper. I don't know if you can tell. It's like grid paper. More grid paper here. Here's a large sheet of cardstock that I printed on. You can create gradients. I'll show you how to get ombre effects and gradients today. This is a card base, just a craft card base. So when you're done with it, it will fold in half and create a card. But I can keep jelly printing on top of this. More cardstock ones. Here, like, you don't always have to jelly print the whole page. You can just jelly print parts of it. And you'll kind of know exactly what I'm talking about once we start printing. Here's just notebook paper, and it does just fine. It soaks up paint, and it will take the paint. Well, look at this one. This one, I'm pretty sure I didn't like it when I first did it, but now seeing it like a little while later, I'm actually kind of loving it. So that's always cool. You can use numbers and letters. Just keep in mind that if you don't turn your stencil over, then they'll be backward. I have jelly printed on black paper, and it's such a complete different technique and feel and use. It's really crazy, actually. Oh, and then what a lot of people print on is deli paper. So this is paper that they would like wrap your sandwich in or your cheeseburger or something like that if you go to like a fast food restaurant or a deli. It's like super crinkly and smooth. And let's see. Oh, this is what it looks like fresh, and it's really thin. You can tell, not quite as thin as tissue paper, but very, very close. Deli paper. And I think the rest of these are deli paper, but some of them are just really cool. Like, look at this one. And it's a little bit hard for you to see exactly like the intensity of the color. But it's very cool. It's kind of a fuchsia color with a purple on top. Here's a really great one in that same fuchsia, but with lots of oranges. And, oh, here, and you can go darker. Like, you don't always have to be bright and bold. You can get a darker patterns going too. And if you use your white space, which is the negative space where there's no paint, you can get some really cool effects too. So those are some of the different things you can do and print on. And then you can, when it comes to paint choice, it's definitely a personal preference. So I have taken quite a few jelly printing classes from other people, and kind of had jelly printing sessions with my friends, and some people like golden. That's my back door, sorry. Some people like golden paint for jelly printing. I love golden paint in general, but I don't really like it for jelly printing. I feel like it kind of has a weird grainy texture to it. So there are two paints that I really like to jelly print with. One is Amsterdam, which is actually like a lot of people really like Amsterdam paint to jelly print with. And then the other one that I really like, believe it or not, is the Dina Wakley and Ranger Inks heavy body paints. And they have such a smooth, like easy-going consistency to them that I'm really able to continue to build on top of them once I'm done with the jelly printing process. So these are the two that I really like. Not color choices specifically. Like I have lots and lots of each of them. Tons and tons and tons of favorites. This color, this is one of my favorite colors. This is the blush color from Dina Wakley. This is a new one. And I love all these colors, but you can jelly print with any color. And so these are my two favorite paints for jelly printing. Some people use Liquitex, and some people use the Blick version, the Blick Studio version, and just people will use whatever they like. If you're going to use like a craft-based paint, I would try to add a little bit of a thickener to it if you can, because paint can be too thin. But too, that's a personal preference. I guess it's always really hard to kind of give direction because some people like different things, right? Back to the jelly plate itself. If you have a Gelli Arts printing plate, and they come in all kinds of different sizes, I should say that. This is an 8x10. You can get like a 5x7. There's a 4-inch by 4-inch square. They come in triangles. They come in a big 12x12-inch plate. They come in all kinds of sizes. This is the 8x10. It's kind of in the mid-range, and I really like it. It seems to do well for the size of products or projects that I'm creating. Other tools that you can use when you're jelly printing: stencils and masks. These ones here are all from the Studio range. And I will also be using stencils from other companies. I think I have a couple Donna Downey stencils pulled out. I think I have a Dina Wakley. I might have a Prima or two, but any of your favorite stencils. I will be using some Catalyst tools today to help create textures in our jelly printing. And these are by Princeton. This is a wedge, and this is just a Catalyst tool. It comes on a big handle, and actually, if you ever purchase these, the handle comes off of these, so you can use it as a hand tool too. So we'll be using these as mark makers to create some textures in our paint. I also have a few Viva Las Vegas stamps that I've designed, kind of hanging out, waiting to be used. This here, I picked up this tip from Birgit Koopson. I'm not sure if you've heard of her. She's a really great mixed media artist. She had these little 2x4 pieces of wood cut out, and then she glued some things on the outside of them to use as mark makers. So I did the same thing with some Unwow Studio chipboard pieces. And so here, this is a star confetti. I have a swirl from one of our MASH collections. Here's a hexagon confetti on this side, and then I have this feather. And two, I could use the other two sides, and I could create hundreds of these blocks. They're so cool. Wait till you see these in use. Use those as mark makers. I'll need a brayer today to apply my paint. Oh, yeah, this brayer is a little bit stiff. I might have to get a different one. We'll see how it works. So you need a brayer and paper to print on. Of course, we talked about that. So I have some newsprint, not newsprint. I do have newsprint, but this is the deli paper that I have. I have some cardstock cut down to the size that I like to print on. And then I also, you can print, you guys, on muslin, on canvas, on other fabrics that you might turn into a dress, other cottons. You can jelly print on anything that's going to accept paint, okay? And then I have some tools like bubble wrap and corrugated cardboard. I also have other mark makers, which is kind of the generic term that you give to tools you'll use to create marks in your artwork. So here's an, I haven't actually used this one yet, but this is an old tape roll. I can't wait. Look at how big it is. I can't wait to make marks with that. And I have a whole selection of mark makers. I'm not going to go through them all, but as I pull them out, I'll try to talk about each one of them. This is my mark maker toolbox. So it has lots of stuff in there. Lots of fun things. Pull out a couple of my favorites, I suppose. Kind of have those on hand. Let's see. I really like this one. Corrugated board. I really like this one. Alright, that should be good for now. And then I'm not sure, I think I mentioned I always have like bubble wrap on hand. And I actually have a few different sizes of bubble wrap. So I have this here, and this one's sort of a stiffer one. I have an itty bitty one. And then I have kind of a big honkin' one. And I don't clean this stuff off. Like, some people will clean their jelly plate and their tools off all the time, but I actually like when different flecks of paint are kind of caught in my artwork. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and jump in and get started. This is my jelly plate. And it is a gelatinous, sort of thick, heavy plate. And it comes with two covers on it, and I always leave the back cover on and just take off the top cover. And I leave my paint on it as well. You can see, like, I don't always clean it off. When I do clean it off, usually something's going wrong with my paint combinations. So by leaving paint on and kind of keeping it dirty and scraggly and scruffy, when I put paint down and then lift it back up with my next jelly print, it'll pick up some of these little pieces of this kind of blue purpley color that are left around. All right, so any questions so far? Doesn't look like it. I think Karen is our moderator today, so thank you, Karen, for being here. She'll be providing you guys with links, like ones for the jelly plate to know the exact one I'm using and stuff like that. She'll list some paint colors and some of the tools that we're using, some of the Wow Studio stencils and stuff like that. Yeah, okay, so I took the cover off my Gelli plate, and we're just going to go ahead and get started. I did mention I leave the back cover on. It keeps it nice and healthy that way, and they usually say if you're going to take the back cover off, then you should put it onto a non-stick surface anyways. So I thought, why not just leave the back cover on, and then I can use it wherever I want. It does sometimes slide around a little bit that way, but it's staying healthier. Excuse me, and I'm able to get good use out of it this way. So should we apply some paint? Does that sound good? All right, let's apply some paint. I think I'm just going to start out with some of my favorites. Like I really love this blush color by Dina. And then I'm a big fan of this gold ochre kind of, it's kind of gross, but I kind of like it. And I think I will just, I'll do a couple easy prints and then we'll get into some more detailed stuff. So I'm going to start off by applying a medium amount of paint to my Gelli plate. It's not a lot. And if I tilt this to this like up, you can kind of see there's like one bigger blob there, and then these are just a few smaller ones to help spread the paint out a little bit. You don't want too much paint, otherwise it's super thick and it's not as monoprinty as it's sort of intended to be used. And we're going to use our brayer to spread the paint around. When you're spreading paint with a brayer, it's kind of like a roller on your wall. You don't go back and forth in the same place like this because then the paint just stays right there. But if you kind of stroke all the way down and back up to the top, then all of your paint gets spread out nice and even. All right. Oh, and a lot of times I will keep a scrap piece of paper to the side, and whatever paint is left on my brayer, I'll just roll out on my scrap piece, and it does two things. It keeps it so that I'm not wasting all the paint, because this is a cool kind of little card too, and I'll keep building on top of that, but I'm wasting less paint that way. And also, it's cleaning my brayer off for when I apply the next color, because this paint will stay wet for a little while. So if I were to come back with a second color, it would mix, and then I wouldn't have orange or pink. I would have like a really weird, gross hybrid in the middle there. And I am going to print just straight onto a piece of cardstock like this, and I'll push all the corners down, because on this piece I want the whole thing orange. So I'm going to push all the pieces down and then burnish across it so that there's 100% contact. And then with a couple other pieces, I'm going to do some Gelli paper. Then I'm going to come back in, and now wherever the Gelli paper is making contact with the paint is where there will be paint, but there's going to be this huge void missing in the middle, which I think will actually be kind of cool. When you sort of plan in things like that, it gives you more opportunities later to work with design aesthetics and like other things like stamping or layering other paint colors or things like that. All right. So just give it a minute. And I still, too, I have all of this that I could pick up. And as long as it's not terribly dry, if it is dry, then it just won't come up. And I'll be able to reactivate it with another layer of paint later. But it doesn't hurt to try. So now I have 3 layers of paper here. Pull one up. Oh, yeah, okay. So that was dry, so we only got this much. But I am okay with that. We're going to keep layering on top of this until it's perfect, until we're able to set it to the side, and then just pull more stuff off of it. Now I will say this, when I pull up a print, I set it to the side because I'll give it a few minutes to dry while I work on other ones, and then I'll come back and work more on top of these ones. So here's what I was talking about. I got that really cool orange color, but look at the really fun like navy it picked up. And then down here, there's some teal and a little bit of purple. How, like, I didn't even see that purple on my plate. How random is that? Random and cool. All right, now here's the really big one that's going to be all orange. Oh yeah, check that out. That's so cool. That's such a cool background to start with, and we can layer other colors of paint on top of it, or even more oranges, or like reds, whatever we want. Dark browns, blacks, navies, lime greens, anything will be cool on this. So we'll set that to the side to dry. And we're gonna get a couple more things going here. Let's do, I like this blush color. Oh yeah, that's probably too much paint. That's all right. Let's see. So when you get too much paint on your plate, it just tends to be thicker, and then other layers won't build on top of it as well. It's not a huge deal. It's just a different way to print, and you get different techniques that way. Isn't this color pretty? It's so gorgeous. All right, so here's my card now, looking pretty cool. And I do have a layer of newsprint down underneath my jelly printing, so I can clean my brayer off that way too. And I will save this under paper and use it as a background in something else as well. All right. Everyone's still connected, not many questions. All right, so now I have this. I'm gonna come back in. I kind of think I want like a big kind of purple, or not purple, pink stripe in here. So the first thing I need to do is sort of block off an area. And I think I have this that had that tiny bit of orange in it. I think what I'll do is go like this and get a pink block at the top. Like that. And then come in here. Actually, let's try this. This is the orange one. No, I'm not ready. I'm sorry. I know. Decision time. Decision time. Okay, this is just a blank page here. Come in with that one. And then I wanted this sort of big block here. So I need to turn this way. And I'm going to come all the way up to the edge like that. Oh yeah, that's going to look cool. Do some burnishing. Make sure I have, make sure I have really good contact. And then when we pull back, yeah, so there's the one I was aiming for. That is so fun. And here, look, it picked up some of that orange that was left on the edge. It's really dark. That's kind of cool. This one, I knew I wanted that big block up there. Look at where those that orange, that cheddar orange, or sort of ochre color, I guess, gold ochre, is overlapping. It's so neat. And then we'll pull this one up. And this one's not as much of a mystery because it was kind of a clean sheet that we went down with. But we'll be able to keep building on top of this one too. Is there a color preference? Does anybody have a color preference or anything like that? At this point, I'm just having fun picking the things that I like. So I am totally open to suggestion. Should we add some lemon yellow? Do you want to see, let's do a gradient one real quick. So in the beginning, you're kind of setting up some backgrounds to work on, and they don't have to be solid colors of paint, like solid blocks of color. You're just building, oh, excuse me, a little bit of a stuffy nose. You're just building backgrounds to work on later. When I'm doing a gradient or an ombre effect, I'll put one color here, and then a mix of the color in the middle. So I have two yellows, and then I want a yellow here. Then I'm going to do a blush. So we're going to see what happens when we make a blush and yellow gradient. So kind of like pink lemonade. So two pinks on this side and then one pink in the middle. And the pink in the middle is a little bit lighter because I know that the pink is going to kind of overpower the yellow. Not by a lot. I think they're fairly similar on the color spectrum, but I don't want the yellow to disappear. So yellow, and pink, and I'm going to start by working the yellow out onto my plate. And then I'm going to kind of work off the extra over here. And then I'm going to come in with the pink on this side. And then I'll go to in the middle. And slowly just work back and forth to create my gradient. And then it's a little hard to see, I think, because the colors are so light. But we'll print and then you'll see. We're going to want to print with something a bit bigger for this. Oh, and two, like if you are utilizing white space, you can start adding stencils and things. So I have an ombre effect. I'm going to come in with my giant bubble wrap and pick up some of that paint and probably leave some paint behind too from other things I've printed. Oh yeah, lots of paint left behind. No problem. I am coming in now with my deli paper and burnishing. Give that just a second to sit there. Okay, Mos, baby, come on. Come on, sweetie. Up and out of there. Go lay down with Daddy. Go on. All right, and then we're going to pull back. Check that out. These are my favorite prints so much. Like these, I could seriously put in a picture frame and just hang on the wall. Are they not the most awesome thing ever? And then look right here, like this one, this circle must be popped. And then these two here, they must be popped in my bubble wrap because they didn't show up like the others. How cool is that? And that's the gradient effect too. That ombre is happening. Ombre, right? So this will be cool to play with. I might add a few more things to this, but I really am liking this one, and that was just one really easy, simple pull. It is, right? It's easy to accomplish too, Karen. It's so easy. All right. What should we? I think I will. Oh, I love gray, so I'm gonna get out this warm gray tone, and it's nice. It's a fun color, and it's a good way to add some neutral back in too when you've been working. So this is the Elephant color by Dina. And it's a nice medium range of gray. It's a little bit warm too. It has kind of a bit of a yellow tint to it. Like, not that you can really notice. You can just, like yellow wise, you can just tell that it's warmer rather than cooler. All right. And should we do some stencils? Let's do a stencil or a mask. I really love this. So you don't always have to cover your piece completely with paper. Like, I don't always have to pick up all of the paint. So I'm going to kind of strategically place a couple of these in here. These are Unwow Studio masks. And I'm going to come back with the gray. I'm really, really, really digging this one here. And I want these kind of funky circles to go about right here. So, just in case, I'm going to block this off first. Get a block of color happening here. And then come in with this. Set that there. And then this on this side. And then we're going to burnish and we'll see how successful we are. So now one of the things I can point out is the deli paper is popular because it's so thin that you can work it down into these open spaces in the mask. And you can kind of work it around and you can pick up most of the really awesome detail that this mask has to offer. But the same cannot be said for the cardstock that's over in this corner. Because it's so thick, it's harder to work into smaller detailed stencils and masks. So we'll see what we kind of get over there. It's experimental and it's not scientific at all. All right, so we'll pull this up. Oh yeah, look at how cool that is. And it leaves a blank space. Isn't that nice? And we'll be able to work with other things around that too. So set that to the side. Oh, I did. Look, I did get some gray circles. That turned out really good. Better than I thought. I'm not going to lie. Good deal. We have some really fun prints happening today. I'm going to have so much fun next week building on top of these with you. All right, and then this is just a block of color of gray. There is some yellow and some orange mixed into it. I'm not hating that. Looks like I have some dog hair too. Go figure. Easy to pull out, but yeah, all right. So gray, working. Now here's the really cool kind of fun tip and trick. When you pull these up, there are designs left with the paint underneath. So what I'm going to do is give these just a quick minute to dry, not long time. I just want the paint to dry on top of the jelly plate, and then I'll come back with another color, either lighter or darker, but not in the same tone range. And then when I put the wet paint down, it's going to start to bond to the paint that's underneath that had dried, and then I'll print it and it'll peel up all of the layers of paint. So we're going to give this just a quick minute. Can I ask again, any questions going on? Is there yeah, do you have any questions about anything we've seen so far? Paint selections or paint application, stencils. We're going to do some other things too. Mark making. Try to get this to dry real quick. You don't ever want to apply a heat gun to these jelly plates either. Okay? Keep that in mind. So if you're doing things like this, you have to kind of let it just air dry for a couple seconds. I could sing you a song. Okay, I think that's good. And I haven't used it yet in front of you, so I think I'm going to come in with this lime green color. I think that will be a good complement to my gray. I don't really know, so we'll see. All right, just a little bit of paint. It's so vibrant. All right. Dang it, my paper is getting all wonky there. Okay, and I have a feeling this is going to be super stinking hella cool, so I'm going to come right and just cover the entire thing there. But I want to see what happens with this, so I'm going to do this like that. And then what about this one? You think? All right. Burnishing, burnishing, burnishing. All right, should be good. Let's pull back. Oh, look at how lovely that green is, and it is like paired so nicely next to that gray. I love color combinations. Okay, now these two, these are the ones that I want you to see what's going to happen when we had put wet paint on top of dry paint. Look at that. Is that not so cool? How awesome that it picked up that texture. So this is the stencil shape, this really dark gray area, and then inside there may have been a tiny bit of gray paint left over, like a really thin layer, but that green is really popping around it. Here's another one. Oh, this is such a cool print. How cool is this? It's going to be so fun to play with these next week. We'll build on top of these with stamps and other stencils and mark makers and things like that too. Okay, so we have some cool stuff happening. We should make some marks. So the mark makers that I pulled out, I told you about these catalyst tools already. And then the rest of it is kind of just junk, basically. So I collect tons and tons of junk. This is a resin casting of a keyhole. It makes a cool mark, a keyhole shaped mark. It came out of our credit card machine at the stamp shop, and it has this really cool profile to it. It creates cool little wheelie marks. Corrugated cardboard. I love stripes and strips, so this is awesome. We can just create some strips with that. And then you can create marks with stamps too. So I have some art journaling stamps that I've designed. So we will play with those next. I have this ocean color, and it's kind of intense, but I think it might be a good complement to our green and gray. So let's get some of that down. And you don't always have to take your paper to the jelly plate either. Sometimes you can take your jelly plate to the paper, or you can take your mark maker to the paper. And let me show you what I mean by that. So if I move my jelly plate over and I put my paper here, I have my mark maker. I'm simultaneously making a void over here and stamping. Well, maybe not. Maybe my paint's too thin. Let's go quicker. Yeah, I guess it's kind of working. Not really. That's awesome. My paint's a little too thin, I guess, for this stamping technique. But we'll get some in there. See those lines happening? All right, that's a good start. So we've now created voids in our paint where we were stamping or mark making. And then this is a cool tool. So we'll do the same thing and create some voids up here. Loving that. And then we also have this. And I do love this. All right, we'll see how that looks. And sometimes these, you're not going to be that overjoyed by these. And that just happens too. Like some of them, it's a work in progress and a learning tool. So. Oh yeah, and then remember this guy. We have this one. I think I'm going to try and fill this. Let's see what happens. Baby, it's fine. You're all right, puppy. All right. Okay, so there's that keyhole shape. This print's turning out interesting. I'm not a fan yet. We'll see what happens. Oh yeah, look at how gorgeous that is. That's so fun. It's so intense. And here's those marks we made before, and then this is leftover paint, and this gray is that gray that's showing through from the layer we did underneath. Oh yeah. Neat, right? And so you can keep like segregating like this, or I can do another print completely on top. It's totally personal preference and whatever is like really making you happy. I'm still really crushing on this kind of gray and teal thing. I might cut this out, or even when I'm like art journaling on it next week, just really make this part intense and kind of maybe block out some of the other areas with other things. But there's so much to keep doing and going too. All right. Oh, I really love this one. That's a good one. And you'll keep going. You keep filling these and keep working on top of these until you're happy with them. And then you can set them to the side and build on them later. But it's kind of one of those things like while you're jelly printing, you kind of jelly print and you have fun and you do a whole bunch of backgrounds. I mean, you saw my stack at the beginning. I have a huge stack of backgrounds, but I love it. It's kind of a way to experiment with color, experiment with tools, with tips and tricks and techniques. And it's just a way to have a little energy or artistic creativity release too. Like you don't have to aim for anything. It's not a design team project, or, you know, you're not making a thank you card or anything like that. You're kind of just putting paint down, playing with textures and things like that. We have about 15 minutes left, it looks like, so I do want to ask if anybody wants to see anything specific, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on jelly printing kind of to my heart's content here. Is there a color combo you want to see, or let's see. I've got this blush color back out. I'm a big fan. Oh, I'm going to make some marks with these tools and then show you how those turn out. Sorry, when I go a little bit quiet, I'm usually checking the chat to see if anybody has any questions. So here I can already tell that I didn't have quite enough paint out, so I'm just going to add in a little bit more and then spread that back around, and I should be good to go. And this looks a little purple because I have that green underneath left in some areas, and then there may have been a little green on my brayer too. Yeah, this color came out kind of mauvish. We'll see what happens. When I get a color mixture unintentionally that I didn't like, that's usually when I go in and clean my plate off. So there, I have all kinds of these catalyst tools, and the way that these work, or what they're intended for, is that they're silicone based, and they have all these different cuts in the top that you can create cool patterns with. They have some that have like a stamp edge on them, some that are angled. There's just all kinds of them. Some with teeth grooves cut in them, and then like ones like this that are more comb-like. So I really love to kind of plop this down and spin it. And it's a bit warbly, but we'll see. We never really know until we try. Right? All right, and 3, right? Because it's never good unless you do odd numbers. All right. Oh, that one's really bad. Wow, that's gorgeous. Okay. And then the wedge too. So the wedge, you can, you know, make marks or make striations, but too, you can kind of, oh, my paint's drying too. Kind of come in and scrape some things away and just have some fun. I don't know if we're going to get a print out of this. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Be quick. Be quick. Oh, yeah, it looks like it's printing just fine. Oh, yeah. That's interesting down there. That's kind of a mess. But these look pretty cool. All right. Nifty. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm just going to stop here, and I kind of showed some basic tips and tricks, and then next week we'll come back and I'll have, let me put my cover back on here, and then I can kind of talk a little bit easier. All right, so, oops, a little further down. Okay, so these are the 3 backgrounds that I really liked, at the end of today, enjoyed making. And, but we'll work on the others too, and we'll be back next week to do some art journaling on these. All right, perfect. See you then.